Welcome back to Father and Son Fix. We love our air purifier, but why are the filters so expensive? In this episode, we're going to show you how to make your own air purifier filters from typical furnace filters, save money, and have it extend the lifetime of your air purifier. All right, let's get started. Now, these air purifiers are generally all the same. We've got an Air model here, it's spelled A-E-R. They all have a similar construction where you have one of these cartridge filters. Now, as you can see, we've already replaced the material here in the cartridge with the material from a high quality furnace filter. And we're going to show you how to do that in this video. And it works quite effectively. You could see there how much it traps. Of course, it's always important to clean your pre-filter because that's what's going to trap a lot of the hair and other things. Make sure that stays clean for optimum performance as well. Now, we don't have a new cartridge to show you, but we can tell you how we took the paper out of this cartridge. And that you're going to need to take one of the paper cartridges, snip off anything that's in the front. Make sure you don't damage the seal in the back. It's really important to maintain that. And then really, off of the front, you're just going to take any of the paper material that's there and carefully remove that so that you can then replace it as you would like over time with the material from the furnace filter. Essentially, you're going to continue to reuse that same cartridge and simply replace the material inside, which also saves a lot of waste as well. So we'll show you, this is us removing a used piece of material, and you can see it is pretty dark and dingy, and it certainly does its job. And so this is what it's like to start out with when you have just an empty cartridge to start out with. And that's what you're going to use to then fill with the furnace material inside, or the furnace filter material inside. And you're going to save a lot of money because each one of those cartridges, sometimes they're like 20 bucks each. You can get one furnace filter for like 10 bucks, and that's going to give you like 10 or 12 refills, almost a whole year. So we've got a few tips to make this really easy for you and make sure you do it in the most effective way. A lot of this we've learned by trial and error over time, and this system for us now works perfectly. We've got 6 air purifiers. One of the things is you want the long edge parallel with the ribs in the filter. Okay, so the long edge of the cartridge. And then you're basically going to map out the amount of filter that you need over that furnace filter. However, you do have some leeway in terms of how many ribs or pleats of the filter you want to use. You can compress a lot of pleats, or you can have fewer pleats. Now, we do recommend don't put too many. If you put too many pleats, ultimately it's going to choke the air purifier, which isn't a good idea, and it's also not going to flow through enough air to purify the room. Now, there is some leeway, and you can choose a larger or smaller number of pleats. As a result, the number of filters that you get out of the larger filter, or the number of filter refills that you get, will change. So fewer pleats, you get more refills. More pleats, you get fewer refills, but still you're saving a ton of money either way. For our case, we like to go with almost without compressing any of the pleats too much. Now, in the bottom row, we were able to get 5 filters out of that row. In the top row, we're not going to do as many pleats, and as a result, we're going to wind up getting 6 filters out of that row. And this is what you're going to do. You can count them to be even, or you can use the cartridge to guide you. And we recommend simply using a Sharpie to mark it like this along the pleats. And that's going to show you where you're going to cut with a pair of scissors in the next step. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 filters from that top row. We recommend wearing a pair of gloves. There's a metal backing on the furnace filter, and we'll show you in a little bit. It can really poke you. Now, we're using a pretty standard pair of scissors here. We've tried using wire snips, and actually they didn't cut very well through the sort of cloth material element of the filter. And we found that it was simplest simply to use a regular pair of scissors. And this is where the gloves come in handy also. It's not going to be a perfect cut, but that won't matter. We'll show you as you put this material into the filter cartridge. You've got a little bit of leeway there also, so don't worry about that too much. So there's the first row, and we just cut it right in half along the line that we measured with the cartridge. And there's going to be this cardboard backing. Keep the cardboard backing behind the filter material, but take off the cardboard pieces on the side while you're cutting it. We found that if you take it all the cardboard off, the result is that the filter material is going to start stretching too much. The pleats get a little bit disorganized, and it's just a little bit more of a handful. So as you go, just tear off the amount that you need for each piece of filter that you're about to cut. So we did the first cut to split the 2 rows in half, and now this cut we're just going to cut off some more of the material here. It's a little bit of a funky process, the cutting. It's not as easy as cutting through paper, although it goes by fairly quickly. We're struggling a little bit here, but don't worry, we'll get through it, and so will you. There we go. All right, so that's our first one, and you can see how some of the pleats have already separated as a result of cutting it and handling it. And this is, as we mentioned, for the size of our cartridge, this is about the maximum amount of pleats. And so we'll compress it down a little bit to get it back to roughly where it was in terms of the pleat distance before. It's a little bit more compressed, but there you go. Okay, we're going to fast forward here a little bit and show you cutting off the rest of these pieces after we've removed the cardboard from around the edges. And we're also going to show you why you should wear gloves during this time, okay? So there, you can leave the cardboard material on and then just peel it off after you're done cutting the filter out. And you see how it holds the pleats together a little bit better when you do that? All right, now this is what we're talking about and why you want to wear the gloves. This little piece of metal here, it's kind of hard to see, but that can really stick you if you're not wearing gloves. It gets really sharp when you cut through it with the scissors. So good idea to wear gloves. Now we've got all of our filters ready here, and on the left side we've got the less pleated set. This is the more pleated set. You get 6 out of that. Now we're going to show you how to put the filter material into the cartridge, and really it's not have to be perfect. The most important thing is that you stretch the filter material out to all the corners so that it traps as much of the airflow as possible. See that right there? You want to tuck that little edge in. Tuck it towards the edges, and that's what's going to make sure that it still catches all the contaminants going through there and works effectively as an air purifier. If you've got some gaping hole there, then that air is just going to pass right through and it's not going to get filtered. Now the other thing you have to watch out for is with the back. So as you're pressing it and fitting it in on the front, you have to make sure that you're not pushing it too far on the back so that it doesn't go beyond the plane of the back. That needs to sit flush against the inside of the air purifier so that the front of it can snap on or snap into place correctly. So you don't want that bulging out of the back. Now that's with fewer pleats. This is what happens when you have more pleats, and it looks like, oh wow, is this really going to fit in here? It does, and you can compress it in there, and we'll show you how that's going to work in a moment. At the same time, while you can have more pleats, you can see sort of why we recommend using almost the exact amount of pleats or maybe a little bit less when you lay the cartridge over the furnace filter, because it takes a little bit more work to push in the material when it has more pleats and they're all compressed there. Again, you want it to be level on the back and also on the front so there's no bulges that are sticking out that may interfere with the front cover closing correctly. And so there we've got to tuck some material in the back, and It's your preference, though. We've experimented with it at times to see which one would catch more material. And it is also the case that while this flows a little bit slower, it may be that it is purifying a little bit more because it has more pleats. Let us know down in the comments what you think is better. Should there be less pleats to allow more air through to ultimately circulate more air? Or should there be more pleats to trap more of the contaminants but maybe filter less air through? At the end of the day, it might be about the same between the two. We tend to go, as we said, with fewer pleats because it's a little bit easier to fit in the cartridge. It's up to you. And again, either way, you're going to be saving a ton of money by doing this. So have fun and experiment and see what works best for you. To tell you a little bit more about the type of filter that we use, it's a number 10 filter, and we get these at the big hardware store. And number 10 is the highest rated for filtering particles, and that's how many filters we get from one of those panels. Now, depending upon the number of pleats, this one will give you 12 refills per panel. This one will give you about 10. And depending upon the price, if you get the contractor discount by buying 3 of the furnace filters, you can get them for $10 or even less. So to wrap this all up, we're going to show you some general maintenance which you should be performing on your air purifier anyway. And as we mentioned, we've got about 6 of these around the house, and they've been running well over the years. We certainly feel that this has extended the life. Using the paper filters before, we've had a couple of these burn out. We haven't had an issue since we've changed to this new filter style. Of course, with anything like this, proceed at your own risk. Be careful, wear gloves, don't stuff too much filter material in there. That's certainly not a good idea. And have fun while you're at it. Now, here as we mentioned, cleaning off this pre-filter is huge. You can change the filter inside all you want, but if you don't get this dirt, hair, and dust off of the front of the pre-filter, then the air purifier is never going to be able to work very well. It's really satisfying too to see all this and knowing that it's not in the air and you and your loved ones aren't breathing it. That's why we really like the air purifiers, especially on the winter days when we might be inside a little bit longer. Now, after you're done cleaning the pre-filter, clean the air purifier itself with your vacuum. Of course, make sure the air purifier is unplugged at this time. Clean the front, the back, the area where the filter seats. And this is just going to eliminate any other dust or particles that may have snuck through. It just tends to happen all over the top, the switches. Really, that fan's going to pull it in through any crevice that it can. So you want to clean all those areas out to prolong the life of the fan that's inside. Of course, the screen on the front, you're going to want to clean that as well. We found that changing the air purifier filter replacement, in this case our replacement filter, about every 2 months works for us. It really depends upon how much dust and other things you have in your house. We were changing them every month, but it seemed like it was a little excessive. The filters were not as dirty. However, every 2 months it was clear that was about the right time to change them out. And 3 months we found is too long. The air purifier gets really dirty at that point, and that certainly can't be good for it or the longevity of it as well. So here we are putting everything back together now and putting the cartridge back in place. And remember, it should seat in there nice and evenly. And putting the panel back on, which should also clip on nice and easy. And we still have our little window there to see the nice clean air purifier. Set the little date reminder on the top. And we'll check it again in about 2 months from now and do the same process. And we've already got all these filters cut out, so we just go in the bag and grab them. Really works great. And here's what's left over. Not a lot of wasted material. Most of this is recyclable cardboard on the right side there, which is really great. So you save some money and there's less waste, which is great. The filters we get are the 24 by 24 by 1. number 9 or number 10 filter. We find those are the best filters. They filter out all the contaminants and you get the most filter material for your buck. We hope this helped you save some money and get some more life out of your air purifier. Like this video if it helped you, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thanks for watching. We hope you have a great day.